he you know, looked at me and kind of blinked a couple of times and shut right up. He got into his truck and away he went. He and his boyfriend both, you know. They didn't say another word. And in fact, passed me several times later and were quite friendly. There was, I can remember one time on a bike path. This is great. I was on the bike path that goes underneath the freeway bridge there and out by Dairy Queen, you know. Well, Park Queen, right? You know, I'm going along there because I was kind of hoping I'd meet somebody out there and we could go off into the bushes. And I don't remember if I ever managed that along there, at least not at that time, you know. But hope springs eternal, you know, and all that sort of thing. And I met these three guys coming the other way. Well, I had just found a new walking stick. I had it was an oak staff, kind of crooked, but, you know, nice and sturdy. And these guys come up to me, and I was wearing my cape, and I had on, you know, lots of other glitter and things. Mostly I was just out because it was a nice day, and I just wanted to be outside. And I think I was stoned. These guys come up to me, and the guy who's clearly the leader, you know, the cutest of the three, you know, he comes up to me and he's going, "Hey, what's your problem?" You know? And I'm standing there, and I'm thinking to myself, you know, very wizard-like, "Oh, who's this? I wonder if I can take all three of them." I'll start with him, and then it'll be him, and then him. And I'm sure there's a bush around here somewhere. Well, he's starting to get really belligerent. He's getting really close, and I'm starting to get nervous. And I'm thinking, there's three of them. Now, how am I going to deal with this? And so I thought, well, they're afraid. They're afraid of me. Why not use that? And so I took the stick, and I towards his foot, you know, and he bounces back a little bit, you know, and I'm going, I said, now you just keep your distance. Okay, now whatever it is you want to say to me, you can say to me from there. Okay. And so we had a little conversation where he's trying to find out why I'm dressed like this, you know. And I'm trying to explain, realizing that I'm dealing with a redneck who hasn't really had a chance to, you know, deal with these kinds of concepts anyway, and is clearly apt to impress his two friends further. And so I'm trying to explain. I'm going, look, I do this because I want to. Believe me, it is a blast to wear a cape. You have no idea how much fun it is to have a cloak on. And I highly recommend it. Anytime that you want to do it, you just put on a cape and go. I bought this at the Salvation Army right down on across from Payless there. You can go down and get one yourself. And he wound up, I don't think that he ever did really understand what it was that I was trying to say, but he left me alone, you know. And he respected me for standing up to him, I'm pretty sure. And that's been my feeling ever since, is that when I'm confronted with a situation like that, it's better to stand up to them because males, respect that kind of strength.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's interesting how you said you realized that they were afraid themselves, and so you used that fear. Was that the way you said something along that line?
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting concept.
I've done it since too. You know, up in Eugene, I've used it, and it's true. I mean, there is, of course, the possibility that they'll just, if you stand up to them like that, that they'll just turn around and deck you, you know, or try.
Yeah.
But as long as I'm aware that possibility exists, I can kind of, you know, be prepared for
But
it.
you created a kind of like a field, didn't you, with that little, what did you do with the cane there?
I just pounded it on the ground in front of him, forcing his feet back, you know. He had to give up ground.
Like this is a circle, you can't come
Right.
back to the circle. You know, and that totally mystified them, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I've been living in Eugene now for the last 4 years or so. And working with the gala up there. I went through, while I was here, I went through a consciousness raising group and then facilitated one in Eugene about a year after that. That was quite an experience. It was one of the positive things that I've seen happen there. One of the things that I forgot to mention was that while I was living in San Francisco, I became one of the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. I was Sister Anita Blowjob. And
What a job.
I've had a bunch of names. My name Nova came from that period of time when I was in San Francisco. It came to me at a fairy circle. It's Nova, you know, something new. Innovate, novel, nouveau. Those are all from that Latin root. It's also Avon, spelled backwards. That's part of its appeal. When I started bleaching my hair, I started calling myself Randy Warhol. But he's dead now, so it's not as funny as it was. I don't know if I'll ever forgive him for it. It was, I think that realizing that the nuns were a street theater kind of group, you know, that was an amazing thing, to get onto a bus with a group of us sisters and not have ourselves being immediately pelted with various and sundry dangerous objects was a real amazing thing for me, you know. I mean, I grew up in Roseburg, after all, and so it wasn't what I expected. Instead, it was like a game, you know, but it was one that we all knew was a serious game, and yet people played the game anyway. We'd get on the bus and people would be going, "Good morning, sister, how are you today?" You know, da-da-dun, da-da-dun. And I was just totally flabbergasted, you know. And I thought it was great, of course. I mean, if I would much prefer to have people being nice to us as opposed to throwing things at us. So, you know, that was great. But it also gave me that sense of how doing something so completely ridiculous that it goes beyond the realm of experience can be an empowering thing. And that was one of the things that I used when I came back to Roseburg and started dressing up the way that I did. It was the recognition that once you overstep that boundary, no matter how far out you go, you're still over that boundary. You know, you can be a little bit over it or a lot over it, and it's not going to make any difference. You're over it. And once you're out there, people just get out of your way. You know, and that was a powerful thing to learn. Let's see. I have finished school. I'm done with the university for now. I may or may not go back. I used to go to class. I would go to class dressed in skirts once in a while, just to keep them all alert. And again, you know, it's amazing how people will adjust to that. I mean, you know, they were so white and so upper middle class because they would be totally shocked, of course, but nobody would say anything. And I kind of enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. Well, I think that pretty much brings us up to date. I can't think of anything recently. I found out just a while back that the Gay Center was formed. I thought that was amazing. And this is